You are listening to Woodland Walks, a podcast for the Woodland Trust, presented by Adam Shaw. We protect and plant trees for people, for wildlife.
Well, today I'm off to, the wonderfully named Yonder Oak Wood. And although it's called a wood, it's not really a wood yet. This is a very exciting project, but it's in the very early stages of creation. It's near Exmouth in Devon. The Woodland Trust plans on planting, I think, something like 13,000 trees there, creating a new environment for nature and wildlife to bounce back. Sounds a great place to go. I'm going to meet a few people there. First off, though, is my contact at the Woodland Trust today, Rachel Harries.
Well, this site is Yonder Oak Wood. It's not quite a wood yet, as you can see, but the Woodland Trust bought it in March last year with the aim of creating a new wooded landscape here. So it's 54 hectares. We think it is the biggest woodland creation site that the Trust has done in the southwest in 20 years. So 54 hectares, that's equivalent to about 100 football pitches, and it sits on the sort of two sides of a hidden valley, just a couple of miles inland from the south coast of Devon. So where we're stood, we can actually see out to the mouth of the estuary, to Dawlish and possibly to Torquay there as well.
I think you can just see the estuary over there, can't you? Just beyond that last bunch of trees.
You absolutely can. Yeah, you absolutely can. And actually the other day when I was here, I saw a white bird fly over that was an egret that was obviously based in the estuary. So it was really exciting. And
why? Now this site, I happen to know, is quite important because of the anniversary. And just explain to me a little bit about that.
That's right. Last year was the 50th anniversary of the Woodland Trust, and the first site that our founder Ken Watkins ever bought was in Devon. So it's really emblematic that we're now creating a new woodland. Probably, I think it's about 30 miles away as the crow flies from the Avon Valley Woods where we started, but we're now creating a new woodland in the county of our birthplace, which is incredibly exciting. We wanted to create something that would have meaning for local people, and it would be tied into the local environment. So we did things like we looked at the name of the stream, we looked at old field names, and we came up with a short list of names that we could then offer out to the local community and ask them which one they wanted and what they wanted to call this new site. And one of the field names was Yonder Oak Park, and that's really quite special because as you look across the site you can see all these incredible old oak trees over yonder off in the distance. So I have to admit that was my favourite, but we let the community choose and they voted for Yonder Oak Wood.
But you're going to take me on a little walk around here, so just explain to me a little bit about what we're going to see.
Okay, well, we're starting here on a sloping field that has old oak trees dotted about the landscape. Some of these are a couple of 100 years old, and there's one in particular which we can see just off in the distance, which is one of my favourites, that is standing almost on stilts, and the stilts are actually its roots that would have once been embedded in a Devon bank, which is a sort of a solid hedgerow that we find in Devon that has trees planted on the top, and the hedgerow and the bank has been taken away, so the tree now kind of stands about a metre above the height that it would have once been. I can't tell
which one that is.
So can you see there's two in that field over there?
Yes, I see that.
We'll walk past it.
And
so we
that's
can have
that.
another look
Maybe
at it.
Maybe my eyesight's not very good. So these are currently separate fields, and there's a field and then a hedgerow, another field, then another hedgerow, then the tree is supposedly on stilts, and beyond that, what looks like a solar panel farm. So is this what will be the new woodland all the way up to the solar panels?
We've worked to design a mixture of habitats here. So we have about 5 different fields where we're doing much more intensive planting, and that's what people would kind of imagine. That will go into what people would imagine a woodland would look like. But then in some of these other fields, so the field that we're stood in and a couple of other fields that you can kind of see off in the distance there, we're going to do a mix of open space, glades and groves. We'll plant some more of these kind of trees that will be allowed to thrive and to spread on their own, but we'll also plant a mixture of scrub and shrubs, so that's more lower growing trees, things like blackthorn, hawthorn, dog rose, spindle, just to create a really good mix of habitats for all the birds and insects and bats that we know are going to thrive here.
And you've arranged for us to meet a couple of people, haven't you?
Yeah, so we're going to be walking around with Paul Allen. He's our site manager, and we're going to meet Sally Burton, who is one of our volunteers here.
The weather's been kind to us so far, but it is a little nippy, so we shouldn't keep them waiting. So do you want to lead on? Yes. And we'll go meet them?
Let's go.
And I'm told there was some sea shantying going on here, which strikes me as odd because we're not in the middle of the sea or anything. So what's the story behind that?
Well, we're not far from the sea. We can see the sea here. But we were contacted by a group of local a cappella singers who were inspired by what we're doing here and had decided to take some modern folk songs and to rewrite them to reference the wood. So they came out one weekend and they sang to all of our planters. But we also talked a little bit about sea shanties, which I like the idea of becoming tree shanties. So they took a traditional sea shanty and they changed the lyrics. So we now have a song all about Yonder Oak Wood that we could sing along to.
Great, and we're going to hear that now from you. So here's Rachel with her tree shanty. Is that right? No,
I don't think so.
Do you have a recording of?
We do have a recording of it, actually.
Well,
yes.
You never know. I don't know. Maybe a couple of teas or beers later, I might persuade you to sing. All right, brilliant, Rachel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's great. So here's Paul. He's the site manager, and he's going to take us on a little walk down through Yonder Oak Wood.
Paul, thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Hello there.
So you are the site manager?
I am, yes. I'm responsible for turning these fields into a wildlife-rich area.
Brilliant. Okay, well, go on. Let's lead on. We can have a chat about that. Brilliant. So these are early days, Paul.
Yep.
I understand you are responsible for designing the woodland. What does that actually involve?
So really, I mean, the first place you start is kind of getting a sense of where the place is and what the place is. And the key bit here as we walk through it is you can see these big old oak trees. Yeah. And so we've based a lot of the design on that. So you can picture in the future lots more of these big old trees that'll have lots of dead wood, lots of rot holes where birds can nest and invertebrates burrow in. And the way we're kind of going to maintain it is we're going to put animals in and have low intensity grazing. And then you kind of build in where the views are.
I mean, it must be really exciting because it can't be that often that you get actually a greenfield, or literally a greenfield site, but it's more or less bare. It's a plain piece of paper for you to design. That's quite, I mean, it's exciting, quite an honour, perhaps a little daunting.
I've done probably 30 years of nature conservation, and most of what you do is you take bits of habitat and you try and restore them, you try and protect them. You very rarely get a chance to actually create something brand spanking new. And it is really phenomenally exciting for all of us, because if you think about it, in the future, 100 years time, this place will be on maps, it will be on aerial photographs, so not only are we doing stuff that's great for wildlife and great for climate, we're effectively creating history as well, which is an awesome thing to be a part of.
So on the map, it should say Yonder Oak Wood, brackets, Paul Allen's wood, really. Rachel's in the background. It's my wood. It's my wood. There might be a battle for the name.
I'm doing the design that says it from the sky. It'll say Paul was
here.
Yes,
that's very good. On Google Maps, you can. In 100 years' time, they go, how did those trees get planted in the shape of Paul? Okay, look, I've paused because we're at the top of the hill, almost. So what will happen around us? At the moment, there are 3 or 4 trees in a line, and not much else. So what will be here?
So if you picture it in the future, what we'll have is a scattering of big old oak trees like we can see across the site. And if you look over to our left, you can see an area that actually was a former quarry on the site. But if you look at it, you can see gorse that's currently in flower, even though we're in a freezing day at the beginning of March. And all of that is really good for wildlife. It's got lots of pollen and nectar and lots of veg that birds and insects really like. And essentially what we're going to get in the future is a combination of these big old oak trees and that lovely scrubby stuff that's great for wildlife.
So here not too dense?
Not too dense here, no,
so you
not
get
at all.
the view, you get a nice view,
you get a
and
view.
it's a mixed habitat.
It's very, we've constantly said we're creating a kind of a wooded landscape, not a wood.
Right. Oh, well, we should carry on walking. There's a tendency just not to walk. I can see right over there some white poles which look like tree guards.
Yep.
Which does raise this issue. I mean, of sort of how you're going to protect the trees, because plastic tree guards have become quite controversial. Do you have a plan around that?
Yeah, so we've got. So last year, the Woodland Trust decided that it would stop using virgin plastic tree guards on its sites, which is actually a bit problematic because there aren't really any other types of tree guard that are commercially available at scale. So we're doing a combination of things here. The main way is we're going to deer fence the site to stop the deer coming in, and then we're also in some places we're trialling different types of tree tube. So we're looking at one at the moment that bizarrely has been made of sugar beet, so it smells like golden syrup when you walk up to it, which is quite weird.
Yeah, that's good.
And the ones you can see over there are actually recycled from another site.
Right.
So we're still using the tree guards that are effectively usable.
Right. You talk about trying to protect the trees from deer,
Yep.
which does raise the issue of other wildlife. I mean, clearly we're going to be hoping that wildlife get attracted into the area once this starts growing. At the moment, though, have you seen much evidence of sort of new wildlife or any wildlife?
It's still very early days yet, but we've seen lots of buzzards. There's actually quite a lot of hornets' nests in the existing oak trees.
That sounds terrifying.
I
You're
personally,
pleased about that?
I quite like hornets.
Okay. And I think a lot of people always feel it takes generations and generations to plant trees. So I know I've been at planting events where some young people have planted and said, oh, I think my children or my grandchildren might come to see this tree, and then are surprised actually they come back to see their own tree and it grows quicker than they might expect. How quickly is this going to develop into anything recognisable as woodland?
So, I mean, within 10 years, it will absolutely look like a woodland, although obviously still a young woodland. And different tree species grow at different rates. So the silver birches and the rowans will actually be 6 foot high within 2 or 3 years, potentially, whereas the oak trees clearly will grow a lot slower.
Wow, silver birch and rowan, 6 foot high in how long?
2 or 3 years if they
Blimey.
take well. I mean, it varies depending on the soil type and all that sort of stuff, but they do grow very, very quickly.
And tell me a bit about how you got into all of this. I mean, I know you say you've been doing this a while, so...
I started off volunteering actually with the British Trust for Conservation Volunteers a long time ago, and I got known by the Norfolk Wildlife Trust. And rather randomly, I was having a beer in a pub and they went, do you fancy a job? And I went, all right then.
Very good. Very good. So, and you've learnt on the job about trees?
I re-educated some time ago, but yeah, a lot of it was learnt as I went along.
There, I've been very insulting. You probably got a PhD in trees or something. But I do like the idea of I got my job from a pub. I think that's always... I remember a story. I don't know if you remember a film critic called Barry Norman.
Yeah.
He always used to say, I remember him telling a story, there's a pub around the BBC called, I think it's the White Horse or something like that. And he went, when he was unemployed, he used to sit there pretending he was writing scripts so that the BBC producers would come in for a lunchtime beer, which they don't do anymore, but they used to. And they would go, oh, Barry, yeah, there's a job we have for you. And he wasn't working at all. He was just trying to be in the pub around, and that's how he got his work. So that's clearly not just media, it's the tree world as well.
It's very much, very clearly a lot harder now.
Right.
Than it was, because at that point in time, I guess nature conservation really wasn't a career.
Yeah. We've come across a locked fence, but Paul has a key. There we are. There we are, into the next field. Right away. Here's a very different type of fence. and I presume this is to keep the deer out. So, first of all, massive fence. Is this to keep the deer out?
This is to keep the deer out, yes, absolutely. And what will happen where we're standing, the hedgerow will creep out into the fence, and obviously the wood that we're planting inside will also start to hide the fence. So the fence over time will disappear apart from the gateways.
So there's a good 7 odd foot here between the hedgerow and the fence. You're saying that hedgerow will naturally go another 7 foot?
Yep. So what we've got in this hedgerow, actually, it's quite specific to this area. Is we've got a lot of small leaved elm, and we've also got a lot of blackthorn in it, and both of those sucker. So as we've taken the intensive farming off the land, the shrubs will just sucker out and gradually spread into the field.
And look, and we're standing by the main gate, and there's a huge tree trunk here which is holding the post, and I can see the bark coming off. Now, is that deer trying to get in there, do you think?
No, that's actually that's just part of the process of actually creating the post.
That's just me being an idiot. Okay. I thought I was being a clever nature detective.
I mean, right. One of the key bits about this fence, though, is that the Woodland Trust is now focusing very heavily on sustainability with everything it does. Yeah. The reduction in use of plastic is one of those key bits. But these are sweet chestnut posts, so there's no chemical preservatives in them or anything like that. And they're kind of the main posts at the corners, if you like, of the fence. And now we're using a metal fence with metal posts, and the idea is that when the trees have grown up after 20 years and they're no longer a threat from the deer, we can take this and reuse it elsewhere. Right. So we're constantly thinking about that sustainability stuff all the time.
So we're in this more protected field, which I can see has been laid out actually. Is this for the planting scheme? Little posts and sort of lines of rope.
One of the issues with going plastic free is it becomes very difficult to actually see what you've planted.
Right.
Because if you look at here, it just still looks like a field, but actually there's somewhere in the region of, around 2,000 to 3,000 trees already in
gosh,
here.
I didn't realise that.
And you can't see.
So yes, with the plastic guards on a tree, you see these white telescopes sticking up all over the field. So there's thousands of trees here, we just can't see them. Right, and a lot of that has been planted by volunteers?
We've had somewhere in the region of 400 to 500 members of the public come over 4 days. So we've got a set of volunteers who've been brilliant actually. They've come and they've helped kind of manage all the public, and they've helped work with the schools. They've helped us set out where the trees are going. Perfectly honest, we couldn't have done it without them at all. Right. And here's one of our volunteers now. Here's Sally.
Right. Brilliant. All right, well, let's go over chat to Sally. So, Sally Burton.
Hello.
Hello. So I've heard lots of lovely things about you.
Nice.
So just tell me, you're a volunteer.
I am.
Which in this context means what?
All sorts of things. I've helped during February with the public planting days and with the school planting days. Helped children dig holes. Some of the children are too small to get the spade in the ground very easily. I've planted quite a lot of trees myself.
And why did you get involved?
I've been looking for a while to volunteer for an organisation that does things outdoors and something a bit physical. And so when the Woodland Trust appeared in the village hall, I just went up and said, do you need volunteers? And they said, yes, please. So I signed up straight away.
And I mean, what does it offer you? Why is it a fun thing to do?
I enjoy working with the other people. The staff are great and the other volunteers have been great fun. In fact, I've reconnected with someone I knew a few years ago. She's been helping up here as well, so that's been great. I like being outside. I love being outdoors. I don't mind about the weather. I like doing physical things, and it's great to make a difference.
So so what sort of difference do you feel you're making then?
Well, contributing to turning this basically what looks like an empty field into a forest, that's really amazing. People have been very excited about it. Lots of local people came up and planted on the public open days. Everyone's looking forward to being able to come up here and experience it themselves and enjoy the trees and the views. Obviously the views across the estuary and out to sea are beautiful, and there are lots of birds already. It's a very beautiful place.
And so how much of your time does it actually take up?
Well, during February and the beginning of March,
quite a lot. I've been coming up for days, getting here about 8:15 and going home about 4 o'clock.
Right, so why is that the busy period?
Because that's when the tree planting's been going on. And
First time you've ever planted a tree?
I've planted a couple on my allotment, but
Right.
certainly the first time I've planted on such a scale.
Right. Have you kept count? How many trees are you in?
Well, on one of the public planting days, I'd finished registering people and I planted 25. I kept count of those. And on Wednesday this week, a school was in, and when they cleared off, I finished planting the trees in their little area, and I think there was about 30 there. I'm not sure, I lost count after about
Right.
12.
There should be scout or sort of brownie badges, shouldn't there? I'm a 100-treer,
Yeah,
you know. It's very good. That's fantastic. Oh, well, look, thank you very much. I can't believe this is the field in which you've planted.
It is. You can't see many of the trees.
I can't see any of the trees. What do you think many of them?
There,
Oh,
you can see some with leaves on.
Yes.
Those are sessile oaks,
Right.
which were planted a little while ago.
Any
and
of
they
those
show
yours?
Up, possibly.
Right.
They show up because of the leaves. But over there, most of the area there is planted.
Okay, brilliant. You're talking about planting. Rachel has appeared over the hill. She is brandishing a
spade.
A spade. I forgot the name. You can see how ill-equipped I am to do this. I forgot the name of what she's. So I
waving.
think she's tempting us to go plant. So
She might be.
let's go off.
Mind the string.
Oh, sorry, already having a heart attack from the idea of physical exercise. I haven't done anything yet. Okay, so we have a spade, and this is a virgin bit of land. No trees planted yet.
No trees in this section yet.
So I get the honour of planting the first tree.
First one.
So you're going to talk me through this, and I'm
So
going
the first
Oh
job-
yes, all right. I'm
the
already
first job
jumping ahead of myself.
Is to screef
What is
the
screef?
area,
What is
which is where
screefing?
you do this to kick away the grass
Right.
with your shoe to make
Right.
a square
A square.
or an area to get rid of the grass. Doesn't have to be too big, not much wider than the blade of the spade. Put
Yeah.
the spade in there and then don't lift
Oh,
it yet.
no, don't.
Come round that side and make
Okay. Oh, and then
a
make it-
square
you
on
cut
that.
it-
Yeah,
cut it out.
cut it down. Then on that side,
I feel I've hit the
one of
some
the
rock
pebbles,
already.
and then the final side, and then you could
Then I can lift it
probably
out?
lever out a lump of turf. Okay, here's a tree, and we need to make sure when it's in the hole, the soil covers up to just above the top of the highest root.
Right.
So if we test that, that's not deep enough.
It's not deep enough.
So need to go deeper.
Overall, I'm not doing particularly well, I have to say.
Let's have a look. That's looking good there.
You think that's all right?
Yeah, that's okay. So the next job is to crumble the soil
With our hands.
with our hands back into the hole. The loose bits
So it's-
first.
Okay. You didn't say I was actually going to get my hands dirty. I mean,
No. And then if you've got any clods that have got grass on them,
Yes.
make sure they go in with the grass facing down
so, do you know why?
so that the grass will die and then it won't be in competition with the
Okay.
tree, as the grass uses a lot of the water.
It's a bit leaning a bit,
Just a
isn't
bit. Let's push some
You
more
see,
soil in.
It's fine now. 20 years' time, someone will come and go, who the hell planted that tree?
Then the
It's at
last job
45
is
degrees.
you stand up
Yeah, stand up.
and use your heel to press the soil down to push out all the gaps so that it doesn't dry out.
Now how
If
come
it's
you don't want
sunny.
to make it too
Quite
compact?
firm.
Yeah?
Quite firm.
Do you know what? I feel that's leaning. That's no good.
Don't worry, it'll straighten itself up. And the final thing is you do the tug test, where you just get hold of it and just pull it gently, and if it stays where it is, then it's
stays.
planted properly.
I named this tree well and truly planted.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Very good. That's brilliant. Well, I have to say, although me and Sally were planting, Rachel and Paul were looking on. So Paul's still here. How did I do?
Well, let me just check, shall I?
You're doing the tug test.
It's been really fun actually with the public when you come and kind of just check it.
And it
You
comes
can
out.
see them all hold their breath to make sure they're doing it right.
Is it all right?
No, it's grand, absolutely brilliant.
Okay.
Dog Rose, it's a little bit crooked, but you know, Dog Rose will naturally straighten
Will it
itself
correct
up.
itself?
And it's kind of, you can already see it's a bit of a straggly thing, so it will do its thing and it'll be fine.
Fantastic. What is your sense really of what this might be in the future, and how exciting is that for you?
I think in the future, we've got something here that at the very beginning that is going to be hopefully really important for wildlife, and most of the design is about trying to get as much wildlife here as possible. And because we're close to the pebble bed heaths, it will act as a little bit of a refuge in the heat as potentially the climate heats up in the future, and that's all really brilliant. And then the other exciting bit is the fact that we've started from the beginning with people involved.
Yeah.
That's the now. But when you look in the future, the trees that we're planting today are going to be like these big old oak trees in 300-400 years time. That, when you get your head around it, is really quite amazing. And these trees and this wood will be on maps in the future, and we're creating history, we're changing landscape, and it's all such a positive thing to be involved in.
That is amazing that in 300-400 years there'll be a woodland here. The history of who planted us, the history of us being here today, will be lost. They won't know who planted these trees, perhaps they won't know the story, but the trees will be here. They'll be there, they'll tell their own story in the future. It's an amazing thing to be part of, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you think about it, how many times do you get to do something that will still be here in 300, 400, 500 years time? That's just incredible.
Well, if you want to find a wood near you and don't have any idea of where to look, do go to the Woodland Trust website, and it's woodlandtrust.org.uk/find a wood. So that's woodlandtrust.org.uk/find a wood. Until next time, happy wandering.
Thank you for listening to the Woodland Trust Woodland Walks with Adam Shaw. Join us next month when Adam will be taking another walk in the company of Woodland Trust staff, partners and volunteers. Don't forget to subscribe to the series on iTunes or wherever you're listening to us, and do give us a review and a rating. And why not send us a recording of your favourite woodland walk to be included in a future podcast? Keep it to a maximum of 5 minutes, and please tell us what makes your woodland walk special. Or send us an email with details of your favourite walk and what makes it special to you. Send any audio files to podcast@woodlandtrust.org.uk. We look forward to hearing from you.